All right, let's bring into the conversation Sahlulele Luzipo, who is an independent analyst. He's also a former chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources. Mr. Luzipo, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. The issue of Stilfontein mine is one issue, right? There are thousands of these abandoned mines scattered across the country.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Michelle, and your viewership. Yes, you are correct. I think the difficulty that we're having in the issue of illegal mining is that we have not been able to be in a situation where we piece down the different aspects of illegal mining that are taking place. For an example, to the best of my knowledge, it's only now that it has been discovered that the Stilfontein mine still has got owners. Obviously, if the owners came later, you take full ownership if you know what would have happened previously. And I think that's one of the good things that must take place. But as you have said, the problem is that is the magnitude of the challenge, especially on what I would call the gold-bearing materials in the mines, which is predominantly gold mining. You still have got those serious problems, including the nature of violence that is meted communities by such individuals. So yes, in my view, it's just one thing. We need to have a broader overarching strategy that will deal with the issue of illegal mining, including the funding activities. You see now, the difficulty is that if this operation was undertaken on a mine that is owned by an individual, it then raises question that the state would have spent money in a private company, which in my view should have been forced, but I'm saying it had reached that stage where the state had to make an intervention. The problem that then you are solving a problem that will create another problem. Because others might ask a similar question, was there a similar effort that was put when you had the problem with the Lily mine? So I think for me, as long as you don't have an overarching strategy to deal with illegal mining, both at a violent level in terms of the level of what we would call the mafia style of the industry, but also to deal with what you were talked about initially, the issue of small-scale artisanal mining. So you need to find a mechanism that will work, because you can't have a one-size-fits-all. Lastly is the funding issue. It's quite interesting and quite saddening at the same time that when you look at the budget, it doesn't seem that the issue of illegal mining by the Minister of Treasury is being taken as a serious issue that is posing threat both to society, communities, but also to those who are conducting illegal mining activities. But lastly, it's also not taking into consideration that there is a lot of revenue that is lost in that space through the illicit activity. So that's why I'm saying it's a difficult thing to deal with as long as you don't have an overarching strategy that will talk to different aspects of such activity.
And even during your time as chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources, did we focus with any kind of depth to form this strategy around illegal mining?
I think we must appreciate the extent of work that has been done. You will recall at the folding of the sixth administration, especially this part that deals with the gold industry, where there were violence. You remember there was that massive rape case that had happened in Krugersdorp. You would have had many other incidents that have taken place, even people who were found alongside the national roads were shot, execution style, and all those things. Then the matter was taken to the level of the presidency to say it's going to be coordinated at a presidential level. But as early as 2014, 2015, on the fifth administration, you would have seen that we had managed to some degree to put in place a joint operation structure that would include, at the time, you would not have the police, intelligence, you did not have many of these other aspects, Home Affairs, participating in a national joint operational center. But as we speak, you do have those issues. The biggest problem, and I said this thing, and this is not malicious, the biggest problem is the elephant in the room is the national treasury. And I always say it is so unfortunate and so sad that we've got such a conservative national treasury that does not see any other things except counting money that is already in the pocket Because for me, if you make a correct strategy, you would make sure that you need to cap these illegal mining activities. Remember, one of the things we've said, it is estimated that the country per annum lose almost above 40 billion rands through illicit mining. Unfortunately, you don't have accurate calculations because it's an illicit activity. So it actually means if you were to make a proper investment and close some of these loopholes, the state stands to generate more revenue that will come and be a benefit in terms of the distribution when it is done in the form of the budget process. So I would say, at least at this stage, there's a long way to go. My take, if one were to ask me, what then should be the better solution? Two options, I think. First, for Parliament. First option is that Parliament, instead of dealing with this issue in a piecemeal fashion, it should see whether they can have a parliamentary process, whether you call it a parliamentary inquiry on how to deal and cap illegal mining activities, including fast-tracking the process of small-scale artisanal mining. But secondly, to look at whether you don't need or require a judicial commission of inquiry in overall on activities of illegal mining, so that all those that would have been identified to have a responsibility and liability can then be legally binded by those recommendations, except if they were to challenge them in a legal platform in terms of demanding a review of the outcomes.
So you've already described to us the devastating impact that illegal mining has on levels of violence in a community and in the surrounding areas as well. Do you think that one solution to that is fast-tracking something like artisanal mining? Will that deal with the issue of the violence associated with illegal mining?
No, most definitely it won't. Let's be honest on that one. It won't. It's far. Remember, the religion ownerless mines, some of them were closed simply because they were a threat to residential areas. Remember, you have got crisis of human settlement. I made an example. When you are the gas best, you can't build and say you want to make sure people that they operate mines where it's going to be a threat to communities. So the issue of artisanal mining, artisanal small-scale mining must fast-track activities of small-scale mines, especially where the mines were closed. They pose no risk to communities, but they were closed simply because your big conglomerate, your big companies had a lot of overheads, and on the basis that they closed on the loss that they were making in paying for overheads, not on the basis that there were no commodity underground. So you may need to fast-track that. You then have situations in your chrome in particular, in areas like your Northwest as well as your Limpopo, where illegal mining of chrome is taking place, which poses a future problem of derelict and ownerless mines. Because as long as that activity is taking place so massively in the manner it is, it actually means in future the state is sitting on a future liability of closing those mines, because if the activities there are taking place illegal, it actually means no one will be held accountable and liable for the extent of damage and erosion that is caused on the soil. So I'm saying the issue of small scale and artisanal mining is just one part. But let me, just as a last point on this one, we should not create an impression that when you've got artisanal and small scale mining, there will be no regulation. When you do, if it's small scale and artisanal mining, will require to operate under specific regulations, which may not be as strict as in your normal mining operation activities, obviously.
I mean, is the fault here with us, with government, Mr. Luzipo? Have we allowed the issue of these abandoned mines to continue for such a long time without actually dealing with it, without getting the owners to do whatever the processes are to properly close a mine, to actually wind up operations at a mine?
Now, I've explained this issue. You can, the issue of that's why it's called derelict and ownerless. Mm-hmm. The mere fact that it means they are abandoned and no one is owning. The problem that you are having prior 2006, 2004, 2005, you did not have an act or a law that was compelling companies to operate on the basis of rehabilitation. It's either concurrent, obviously, if it's under deep underground or activities, you do closer. You only had the MPRTA coming into effect, then doing what we call, it then requires you that once you get a mining right, They must, what I would call in simple terms, collateral money that you put. That money will be used in the event you fail to close the mine, will be used to close that mine. It's called financial provision. But let's say it's collateral. You put it. If you have done effective closure of that mine, then you will get what you have given to the state. It's like a deposit. You'll get your deposit, and then you can continue. The problem with derelict and ownerless mines is that they don't have ownership. Remember, when you make the NPRDA and it comes to effect in 2006, for an example, you can't then say that NPRDA will then go back as early as the 18th century or the 17th. No, it can't, because the law does not apply retrospective. That is why we said the only way you can do is to engage the current employers, at least to make it what you can call it a derelict and owner's lane funding model, where they can make a contribution in recognition that the state on its own cannot afford that. But you can only do that if you've got a willing participant in the form of government, and specifically the National Treasury.
No, certainly. No, I absolutely get your point that some of these mines were operational more than 100 years ago, and so, yeah, they are ownerless. But then the onus must surely be on government to ensure that they are closed, or else risk the impact on the community, because then it costs us more in the long run.
That's exactly what's going to be my point, to say the problem that you have now. Currently, the allocation that is given, I wouldn't know in this next budget, I still have to check. Currently, we've got, if I'm not mistaken, the state is allocated about 146 or 148 million rands per financial year. Let's be honest, there's no way. It's just a joke, to be honest with you. In fact, the entity of the state that was given a responsibility to close those derelict and ownerless mines said it will take them 17 or even 19 years to close those mines. And in some instances, for instance, in areas like River, is that you close a hole in here and you close another one. They know that within the measured straight line, they will be able to find a point to go in. So as you make your own calculation of numbers and say I've closed so much, the problem, you don't know how many after we have closed they have been open. So the issue then is that if National Treasury were to come to the party, look at, and I think that's why also, sorry to come this, that's why I agree to some degree with the commissioners, the SARS commissioner, to say you need a very strong tax regime collecting system. And that, in my view, will also deal with the issue of the illegal mining activities, especially at the level of trade, because the problem here, you can arrest as many runners, I would call them runners, those zama. The reality is that you are not dealing with the people who are making profit out of the illegal mining activities, and the state is losing revenue. So you need also to strengthen SARS to be able to make sure that it makes the necessary collection, but also you need to make sure that in terms of the trade, it actually means you need to make sure that the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition comes to the party and make sure that trading in gold is a little bit restricted, almost similar to what you have in the diamond industry. So those are some of the measures. But obviously, as I said, they may not necessarily fit in each and every aspect. As long as you don't have, as I said, you don't have a blueprint where even departments are being forced to collaborate on how to take this activity. I know from an experience, when we called in the National Treasury, they told us that they are not accountable to that portfolio committee. They will get information from the Department of Mineral Resources. But that's not how Parliament operates. You can have and help and participate and assist that committee to arrive at a decision that will be favorable, and then assist them even with the knowledge and information so that when they conduct their oversight, they are quite clear on the basis of, for instance, the financial model that can be recommended to the DMRE at that time.
Yeah.